Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? I just want to confirm that y'all can all hear me. Hopefully you can. Um, Halito, my name is Sebastian Ellington Fine Ebarb. Welcome. Before I jump into anything else, I just want to acknowledge that I am currently outside of the city of Boston, and I am currently on Nipmuc, Massachusetts, Pawtucket, and Agawam land. I thank them for hosting me and allowing me to be in this wonderful, beautiful space that I currently call home. My tribe is the Choctaw-Apache tribe of Ebarb, based out of Louisiana. We are a state-recognized tribe currently seeking federal recognition, which is true of many state-recognized tribes. And we have a very interesting history from both a visual standpoint and then just from just a people context that I want to kind of bring into the conversation about how to think about visuals. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. But right now, I also want to mention that I'm also a teaching professor at Northeastern, and I have a design studio called Nahi with a wonderful partner, Riley Zaled Martin, who is currently working with our clients so that I can be here. And we are an interesting studio in that we are a pay what you can studio. People can come to us for any price or barter, and we will help people. There's a way for us to give back to the various different communities that we love and appreciate. And through all this, what I want to spend some time talking about today is my mission in life, or what I believe has been my mission in life over time, which is that I am searching. A long time ago, what feels like a long time ago, when I was a teenager, I went to my tribal lands and I had a conversation with a number of the elders, and during ceremony, I was tasked with this life mission almost of speaking for my people. And that was the quote that I was getting. They tasked me and said, it's your job to go and speak for your people. And so I spent a long time trying to figure out what that meant for me. And so actually that's one of the reasons that I became a designer. I felt like this was a really wonderful way for me to be able to talk for people who couldn't speak, or didn't have the volume of voice or weren't being listened to. And it was just a really great opportunity for me to do what I viewed as my mission, what my people were asking of me. But there were some issues there, because although I felt like I was becoming a great designer, I still felt pretty disconnected from my tribe. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that and the historical reasons for that. Even though I was connected with my tribe, I still felt disconnected. And that happened for a number of different reasons. So the first one is that I'm an urban space native. I live now in just outside of Boston, but originally I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Hi, New Yorkers. And as a New Yorker, it's one of those things where there's lots of Native American community that's there. Shout out to the American Indian Community House there that helped me connect with people and folks even outside of my own tribe. And my own family, who instilled me with just wonderful values and a sense of community and connection. And now I'm also a member of the North American Indian Center of Boston, which is another amazing organization. But again, my tribal lands are based in Louisiana, or my historical tribal lands are based in Louisiana, and I'm living in New York. And so there is a disconnect between my elders and myself, like a physical distance. And obviously, when I'm a young kid, the internet doesn't exist quite in the way that it exists now. And so that was really important to think about. The other reason that this is something that was, a disconnect was there, or the second reason, is what many of the other designers here have talked about, right? So this sense of worry, fear, being carted away, taken away. There's actually a quote from one of the tribe's members from a neighboring tribe, right? His grandmother always told him, and I think this sums up, don't talk to church ladies who you don't know from church. Because the idea was that they were there to snatch you up, to take you away, to bring you to, Oklahoma was one of the other big bads. And this is something that the community faced quite often, right? Nuns would beat language out of people, or you'd get sent away to a school. I mean, even in the local schools that were not considered boarding schools, many, many horrific things happened. And it's something that still is prevalent in my tribe, and the way people want to talk about things, but often don't always feel comfortable talking about things. And the last, and I hate to frame this as a hurdle, but thing that makes my tribe really interesting is that it is a mixed tribe. There's the physical region that I'm talking about in Louisiana, Sabine, what is now known as Sabine Parish, is actually this microcosm of all these tribes coming together and becoming one. So originally the land is Caddo, which is definitely part of the tribe. Although we are called Choctaw-Apache, it's the Choctaw-Apache and affiliated tribes. There's multiple tribes that have come together. There are there's a variety of different groups that came together into this area to form this new community. And so, you have the Caddo, who are the original inhabitants. You then have the Apache, who were brought as slaves. And then you actually have the Spanish, who stayed after the Spanish pulled out of the area. And then we had Mission Indians and Choctaw, who were brought in as part of the United States movement to protect against like warring tribes or whatever language that they chose. And so all of these three things, right? So the fact that we have this like moment of just a swath of people stolen from us, we're this mixed tribe, and then also me growing up somewhat away from my native lands, it's one of those things where I actually had a hard time connecting, even though like I would visit and I would talk and I would talk on the phone or what have you. And so what I've been trying to do in order to speak for my people is rekindle our visual tradition. So one of the things that I never thought I would say, since I'm not a big fan of Facebook, but thank you to Facebook, because now there is this wonderful kind of tribal group where people, a closed tribal group where people can talk and communicate and provide information to people, even though they are spread across the country and across the world. We're learning from each other. We're recognizing what's lost and maybe what can be remade. We're learning from each other. We're interviewing, we're recording, we're getting more information as we go. Like even just people who are visiting their family, they're going back with their cell phones and recording more. And we're building from that knowledge. And in building from that knowledge, we are making ourselves stronger and recognizing the fact that like there's a really bright future here and within our visuals and within everything that we're trying to create as a community. So this is an example of something that I actually created for the Facebook group. This is our header image. And here you see a number of different visual influences. And this is something that I did intentionally. Because we are a mixed tribe, I wanted to actually mix in some of our visual traditions together to see how they would function and work. So you see here the plus symbol, which I'm not going to go through the entire symbolism here, but the diamonds and half diamonds are very much Choctaw based. The plus symbol that you see here, which has other names, but I don't feel comfortable talking about it here. Those are, representational of Apache culture. And then you certainly have like motion of the lettering and things like that, which come from Caddo traditions. And so it was really interesting. I posted this and a lot of people were like, this is amazing, this is great. We talked about it as a community. And one of the things that was actually said from one of our elders was, well, I really love what you've done here, but I wanted to see what he referred to as the Apache cross. And so, he's like, I felt like the symbol worked, but I felt like maybe another symbol would work better. And so it started this really interesting conversation of, well, what is the Apache cross? And so what we landed on was, we were actually talking about very similar things. So he was talking about the symbol that you see over here, which many tribes, including many of the tribes that are part of my tribe or histories are part of my tribe, as a dragonfly. And so he knew it as an Apache cross, which I think is really wonderful. And so I learned from his tradition, his family understanding. We learned from each other, and we were able to grow our understanding of what was there and getting to a sense of community and making each other stronger with our mixed knowledge and history, which has just been absolutely wonderful. And this brings me to, I think, a really important part of what I hope for everybody who considers themselves Indigenous, but certainly for my tribe and the history that we want to create, which is that we need to give ourselves permission in order to create new visuals. We can continue to dig as a tribe around the ancient, that which still exists, and really love that and own it. but then also recognize in the gaps where we don't have, we can build traditions anew, we can build visual language anew, and we can be stronger for it. We are not just something that lives in the past from a visual tradition, we are something that lives right now. And we can expand and build on our visual narratives and just become stronger for it. So here are some examples of some of the work that I've done. So the first one was for the city of Boston when I worked for them as the design director. This is for Indigenous Peoples Day, which they finally just started celebrating within the last 2 years. But here I'm bringing in a number of different visual traditions, including Caddo and, well, mostly Choctaw in this particular case, but also some other tribal traditions, including Mission Indian. Then you have this, I'm an aspiring bead artist. The one on the left is definitely very much so a Photoshop. The other one is hand done. And you can see where typography begins to have this conversation. And one of the wonderful things about thinking about the visual representation in my culture or my tribal culture is that symbols themselves are words, and that these two things can coalesce in such a beautiful and interesting way. Here's another example of some of the things that we've been moving forward to and creating that new visual tradition, right? So utilizing some of our historical imagery like corn, which is incredibly important. Tamales are still hand ground to this day in my community, and recognizing the fact that, as Bobby had said, Black and Native lives are entwined in the capitalistic settler colonial system that we currently live in, and like how can we think about that and move away from some of the harmful issues that have settled into the tribe, and thinking how can we build better visuals to continue to express that. So with all of that expression, one of the things that I'm really proud to announce is, as of today, I've actually started working with GNU. For those who don't know, GNU is a wonderful company. They're one of the first, I think the first denim company, Native American owned denim companies. And so we partnered together. They issued me a prompt to talk about water and what it means to me. And so I'm happy to say that you can actually go on GNU as of today and pick up some of these items and talking about that visual expression that comes from my tribal identity. And so this is the first of the t-shirt, pulling in the great snapping turtle, which is obviously a huge part of, again, the visual identity that makes it my tribe. It's on our tribal seal. And then using woodcut as a way to think about creating new visuals, because wood carving is still something that's extremely important and utilized within the current tribe. And so bringing that forward in a way to talk about water. My tribe is on the bayou, essentially. They're by lakes, they're by water, some of which have a painful history. But water is just so important in terms of who we are and what we are. So this was a wonderful piece to be able to create and make. And lastly, a bandana, which is up for pre-order right now, but certainly will be going out within, I think, by December, and a little bit about the new there on the left. So to the right. And so, it's been a really wonderful opportunity for me to think about kind of where our visual expression can go and what it can do and the power that it holds. So y'all might ask, what's next? From the tribe, we are actually working with the Homenti Society, which is like the research and cultural wing of our tribe, to create a digital repository of our history that anybody can send in, much like the People's Graphic Design Archive. We need our own archive. Obviously, this will be locked and to our own people, and depending, like allowing accesses and who gets accesses will be important, but allowing us to record our information is incredibly important. Lastly, well, not lastly, we are currently in process of designing a children's activity book that will make it easier for our younger citizens to get involved and to explore who they are within their tribe, whether they be in the physical area of the tribal area or, abroad or further away within the United States, or what is currently known as the United States. And we will continue to rebuild our new visual tradition in what I hope to be just like a glorious future. So with that, Yokoke, thank you. You can check me out at the links below, and I really appreciate y'all taking the time to talk to me and get to know me over time.